Good afternoon, all you Superkickin with Steven fans. Ready to be here. Great to be here. Ready to talk up all the wrestling news. We got a lot of news to unpack. Of course, I got to bring on my co-host right there, the Greg One, sporting his son's gear. So let's get there. Started first. Congrats to your sons. Knocking off the Lakers. Giving LeBron James his first ever first round loss. He had some interesting comments after it. But, yeah. Greg, how you feel today with your sons?
Love and love, throne the king.
Oh.
And they taking the world over, man.
Yeah. And I was seeing there's a good stat that the most recent championship team left is the Mavericks, who won in 2011. And then everybody else, well, you got half of them. Yeah, Greg, make sure your volume, we can barely hear your mic now. So whatever you need to do on your end for your mic, make sure that's all up to date for us. Because I can hear you very faintly in my ear, but whatever you change back. That makes sense?
Give me 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. I'll talk until then. So anyways, real quick playoff talk. We're basketball fans, as you can see by Greg's son jersey. I was getting ready to say the Mavericks are the most recent championship team in 2011. Everybody else, just, some of them haven't won for the first time ever. So we might see a first-time champion, I think. That's kind of my thinking, either the Bucks or the Nets or maybe his Suns or maybe the Jazz. You got quite a bit of teams. Clippers, you got I think 5 or 6 teams still left that have never won a title, so that's kind of cool to see. But I went live on my Facebook page to kind of talk up what we're going to give you. So here's our rundown. We got about 6 or 7 releases that just happened this week for WWE. We have Raw got a new announcer. We had Smackdown. We had NXT stuff. Let me bring Greg back on as I'm talking up. Hopefully we got him back. We got Smackdown. We got NXT. We got AEW had Double or Nothing. They had Friday Night Dynamite last night. We had SmackDown last night, and we are here ready for playoff basketball. We got SmackDown, or we have Friday Night Dynamite, I think, next week. Saturday night, the week after that for NXT, or for, let's see. Oh, you're muted right now. And I cannot unmute you, which is funny. So, I think we're – go ahead. Got nothing now. When we first talked off air, you sounded perfect, but then you couldn't hear me. So, now try.
Nope.
Oh, there you are. It's still a little bit low. Oh, all right. We'll give Greg one more chance. We'll try him again. So this is all the power of live talk. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Thank you for joining on BW Sports 1. And thank you, of course, for joining us right here on Superkickin with Steven. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this releases because this was pretty big news. I'll start kind of at the back end of a couple names that I don't know where they might end up, and I don't maybe care that much. So Santana Garrett is somebody. Yeah, there you go. Yep, I know, Dan. We can hear me and nothing from Greg. I heard Greg earlier, and then he couldn't hear me, and now he could hear me, and he couldn't talk. So the power of technology, we'll get it working here soon. So Santana Garrett was on the chopping block. She was in NXT. I think she was in the women's classic, the Mae Young Classic. I hadn't seen much of her, so I think she ends up in Impact Wrestling, maybe on the indie scene. Maybe she goes to ROH. They're really building up their women's division. So that name, I don't think is a big loss. Next, we'll go to, I think Buddy Murphy is an interesting name, though. He hadn't done anything since the whole Mysterio family stuff. I thought you could have done more with him and Seth Rollins. I'll bring Greg on. Third time is a charm. Cross your fingers. Don't cross the streams. Let's see how this works. How are we doing now, Greg?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can. Yep, let me turn you down there. I got you. Yeah, it must be those headphones. So we might fix that. But real quick, I don't know if you got to talk about your Suns, but you could talk about your Suns for a minute since you are sporting the Suns gear right there.
Yes, sir. Suns took them 4-2. And everybody little brother the Suns and goes, Lakers going to take away till Anthony Davis gets back and wait till LeBron is healthy. They're just going to flip the switch and win another chip. And everybody kind of looked over the Suns, even though they had second best record in the league. And they went into the Lakers' house and beat them, and they did the little brother to the Lakers for it. So it was so beautiful to see it. And then get on social media and give it to all my Laker friends. So it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
And they took it to them in Game 6. It wasn't even close, was it? I mean, I think they were up by 20 or so at some point.
Yeah, they got up to 29. And,
okay.
To follow up that 30-point beatdown in Game 5. But they give some false hope and let them shave off some points. But yeah, it wasn't even a game. And but for us Suns fans who've been long suffering, it's been well overdue, and where better to announce that you're back by dethroning the reigning champion. So proud of the Suns. So Planet Orange, yeah, buddy.
And like I said, I'm sure you saw the stats. So the Mavericks are the most recent champion in 2011. I think of everybody else, there's like quite a few never won a title, and then some in the 50s and 60s or 70s. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a first-time champion. I mean, the odds are saying that.
They would be. I mean, it's crazy considered the teams that have come through here, the 7 seconds or less Suns that were blowing every team out of the building by 20, 30 points a night. And they got screwed by one Robert Ory hip check. And then the Barkley Suns that just had the unfortunate run into Michael Jordan's Bulls at their prime, rocking the number 9 Dan Marley jersey just to go old school today. But yeah.
Well, who didn't have that? Who didn't have that Thunder Dan poster in their room? I think it was like him, like shooting. It looked like the moon was in the background.
Right.
Back in the day when posters were the thing. So yeah, I think the Nets have never won. The Bucks, the Bucks have maybe won I think it's been a while for them if they've even won one. Clippers obviously never won one. Jazz haven't won one. Your Suns, like that's 5 teams right there. I don't think the Hawks have won one. So yeah, you got quite. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. What is ESPN going to talk about, because they don't have any major market teams left, but that's a whole nother conversation. I guess I'll figure out. They'll probably just talk up more football because that's all they talk up anyway. So.
Well, hey, we got to see Devin Booker's coming out party. The casual basketball fan doesn't know who Devin Booker is, but that's the beauty of beating the Lakers in the first round, because now everybody knows
you have to see him,
because everybody was watching the Lakers and when everybody was watching LeBron, and Devin Booker showed out. And now, if you didn't know, now you know, as the rappers used to say. So.
And Chris Paul has been hurt off and on throughout this series, right? Or has he played much in this series? I thought I heard.
Yeah, he suffered a shoulder injury in Game 1, and he's been biting down on his mouthpiece and toughing through it.
Okay.
And he's really been the veteran catalyst of the team. Devin Booker's the star, of course, but he has got all those pieces running the way Steve Nash did with those 7 seconds or less Suns, where he had a bunch of young upstarts that were just all energy and too much can jump out of the gym, but they needed to be reined in. They needed to be pointed in the right direction. And he was the maestro, and that's what Chris Paul does. He's the maestro, and you have all these young guys who are ready to jump out the building and can run you off the floor, but they need that veteran direction. That's what he's provided, and he's had an MVP season because of it.
Yeah, that's what some people were saying. Like, it's too bad, it's too bad you don't vote on the MVP after the season because some guys end up carrying their team higher, even if they could add more to their resume. So, but go Suns. I think it's going to be a fun kind of rest of the playoffs with, like I said, the Lakers out, the Heat, weren't there. So now you're going to have two fresh teams in there in the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I was just getting ready to talk up these releases, Greg, that just came out, which we were surprised by. It caught me off guard. So I'm starting kind of at the least interesting. I hate saying that word, but so I brought up Santana Garrett. I think she ends up in Impact, maybe ROH, because ROH is trying to build up the women's division. Did you have any thoughts on Santana Garrett there, Greg? I know she was in NXT. I think she was in the Mae Young Classic too, but she wasn't on TV. Well, I did hear she was in the Royal Rumble, which I completely forgot. So anything on Santana Garrett for you?
Yeah, if NXT can't find anything to do with you, then you're not long for this world in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So not surprised. And, she's been gone and forgotten for a while. So I'm surprised it took this long, really. And
next up, I want to bring up Buddy Murphy. I put him. It's interesting to put him there because he was really hot, and I think he was one of the big pandemic heroes. I thought he really stepped up his game. Obviously, him and Wesley Blake had the big tag team in NXT for a couple years with Alexa Bliss. I don't know why they didn't call them up together and try to keep running that, and then you split them up. But I think he could have done more with the Seth Rollins stuff. It felt like they were right there, but they just couldn't, it's like they didn't want to go all in. So I think maybe ROH, maybe Impact as well for him. Do you see him in AEW, or do you see him kind of maybe ROH, Impact, and then maybe an indie run scene, indie scene, but I don't see him in AEW quite yet.
Yeah, he needs to, go back to basics and, resharpen his game. That he wasn't helped at all with the creative after the whole Seth Rollins Mysterio eye gimmick was done. There was nothing for him, but the guy is talented. He is really good. I love Blake and Murphy in NXT. I remember that fantastic match he had. I forgot what pay-per-view it was, but it was in Australia, and when he won the cruiserweight title.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he probably got one of the loudest pops of the night. Fantastic match. And then the series of matches he had with Aleister Black, those were barn burner matches, and nobody expected that, so they kept running it back. So guys got it in him, but he just kind of got stuck in the weeds creatively, and he couldn't do anything to further his character after the whole Mysterio angle was over. So I'm glad he was released, just because you hate to see a talent at that get wasted. And so some place like ROH or Impact or another up and coming company could use a guy like him for star power, because we know who he is, but he hasn't been a WWE lifer long enough to just be thought of as another WWE cast off. He can really recreate himself 100%, and we'll almost forget that he was a WWE character.
And that's what I think that point right there. I think find what you think is going to work for you. It's kind of like this Steve Macklin guy who he's kind of recreating himself, or you think of Matt Cardona, formerly Zack Ryder, that type of just start at the roots and build yourself up. So next up, Lana. I was personally surprised by, honestly, now when you think about it, she's going to AEW. I just can't see. You got to believe she wants to be with Rusev, and it makes sense, especially if everybody's going to be touring soon. I don't know what she'll do there, but maybe you could do Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, start beating him down, and then she shows up to kind of take out Penelope. So I think it's, that's probably the 100% book it. Just book her to AEW. I don't know what you'll call her, anal. You could just do Lana backwards. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that was a dumb joke. I apologize. Or her real name's CJ. That's a good CJ's kind of a wrestler name, right? I mean, CJ Perry's her real name. So I mean, I think it's she's headed for AEW though. Whenever her 90 days is up, maybe all out type that type of time frame. So Greg, and I will say I give her credit though. I thought she was coming along. Is there still work to be done? Of course. But now she's got all the time in the world. So she could keep training with Natalya down there in Tampa and, build up her game. And like I said, I mean, putting her back with Miro is the most logical thing to do. So any thoughts on Lana being released?
Yeah. I'm happy for her because another thing, she's been wasted and she'd been so defined down to she wasn't a believable in-ring talent. Look how she came in as the mouthpiece for Rusev, the ravishing Russian, and people were more interested in seeing her than seeing him, and they just wanted to see her for her looks, not for her ability to wrestle. And we love the accent, we love the bring out, and she spent so long doing that, and then she spent so long getting beat down by Shayna and Nia. 12 weeks getting put through a table in a row or something like that. And then she goes off TV for a couple months and comes back in a tag team with Naomi, and we're supposed to believe she's learned how to wrestle. So, she is going to be better off not with the company because we don't buy her. At least I didn't. I don't know about you. I didn't buy her as a wrestler. She's much better as eye candy, and if she can really go, she can really wrestle, she'd be better off in a different company because it's unbelievable in the WWE world. So I'm glad she's getting the lead, and AEW is, slam dunk. What makes no sense to me is that if you're being released, then why do you have to wait 90 days? So, you didn't quit, they fired you. So she should be able to pop up next week if she wants to. So I don't get that. But, good for her, good for Rusev, Miro, that they finally get to be back together. So, happy for them.
Yeah, why they even if it was going to be a tag team title run for a week, that would have been the payoff to that storyline. Like Lana should have overcame that. Especially they put out a chronicle on her. I mean, everything was right there. So I don't know why they, like I said, you pull the trigger on it, and if it doesn't work, you just drop the titles the next week. I mean, does it look good? No, but at least you gave the payoff to it, and then you move along. But I mean, like I said, I don't think she's the best in the ring, but I don't think she's the worst. But she was showing strides, and like you said, I think AEW, because they have some women that are really green, and then they have some women that are really good. So she could kind of be that maybe on the green side, but get better hopefully as it goes. Next up, Ruby Riott. I cannot believe. Well, I can't believe Liv Morgan is still there, and I wonder if she might be next because she got beat down last night by Carmella, and that makes me wonder. But Ruby Riott now going. She doesn't know if she'll go back to her original name, which is Heidi Lovelace, which that's I don't know about that last name, but anyways. So I think Ruby's going to be. I don't know where. I think she could go wherever. I mean, wherever she wants to do, and maybe if she wants to do some indie scene time and then decide where she wants to go, or do a short run in Impact and see if she likes it there, or a short run in ROH, a short run in AEW. But I think they really missed an opportunity with her. I mean, all of her stuff with Shayna Baszler, with Ronda Rousey, and then the Riot Squad, why they never won the tag team titles is beyond me. The 3-person team now, because now you got Sarah Rowe already gone. You have Ruby Riott gone. I mean, Liv Morgan is literally probably thinking, okay, I'm ready, unless she really wants to try to move herself, But I thought she did get some good time last night in the ring. But I think Ruby Riott, I don't know where she's going to end up. I think wherever she does, I'll watch her and see where she goes from there. What do you got, Greg?
Yeah, she was her time was wasted pretty much. Um, Aside from thinking of them as as the Riot Squad, the three of them, um,
Mhm.
NXT and her main roster run combined, there was nothing memorable to me. There's no match I can point to and go, she had that match with this person and it was awesome. Um, you know, they had the origin of the Riot Squad and they would, do some sneak attacks or whatever. And the look was interesting and things like that. But um, there was nothing noteworthy that they did. So all three of them have been pretty much wasted and ruined, and they all need to be somewhere else. Um, far away from WWE, and I think like Lana, they'll be considered brand new pretty much because
Mhm.
they really did nothing noteworthy or memorable, and their screen time was so little that that's another case of we barely knew you were there, and so we're not going to consider you a WWE cast off. She's been all over the world and um, is throwing down great matches elsewhere. So let her get back to that and kind of consider this WWE run a bad dream.
And hopefully, maybe, like I said, she could do what she can in other companies. But it will be interesting to see where she pops up. Now we're into I call them the top two names because, let's face it, these are the two names that we think, where in the world did this come from? Aleister Black just started this Dark Father character, just came on TV, took out Big E, and then was set to have new music, he said, set to have new, like a new attire that was just shipped to him, unfortunately, or, coming away. And yeah, I mean, he was the first, and he was the first one. So I'm scrolling through Twitter and you're seeing like, oh, there could be people being released. And he was the first one right underneath that to say, this hit me out of left field. And, I'm a little shocked by it. He's been so positive though. I've seen people talk about his Twitch streams. He's had nothing but good things to say. Because I mean, that's the thing too. Like, that's the way to go about it. You can save the. I am so pissed off right now for the private side. Say to Selena.
Right.
Just you got. I think you got to put the forefront, the public eye that you're positive about it because you never know down the road he might prove himself, and then they think, oh well, we want to try. Now we know, but and then he might say no, you already lost your chance. But you can't just come out and be so bitter and callous and whatnot about it. It's just like us. If we got fired from a job, you just never know. Like you might have a chance to come back. So I think he's approached it the best way he can, and I do think he ends up. I think he ends up in AEW, honestly, and I would like to see him as the Dark Order. I know it's going to be tough to be part with Brody Lee type deal, but he's got to look for it, and it's much better than Hangman Page. So, is it feel too blatant? Yes, but I think no matter what, AEW would be a good fit for Aleister Black. Now he's going back to Tommy End, which was his original ring name. So, Greg, do you see him in AEW, or where do you think you see Tommy End showing up?
Yeah, I am really, really bummed out about Aleister Black because more than anybody else on this list. Because like I told you a few weeks ago, I was there for his first match in NXT, WrestleMania weekend at WrestleMania 33. I went to the takeover the night before, and that was his first match against Andrade. And it was a fantastic match. And he had the month and a half, 2 months worth of debut build up with the vignettes and things. And when we saw him come out, it was Undertaker esque with the entrance and the music. And all of us are sitting there like, I don't know who this guy is, but he looks awesome. His music is banging, and I want to see what he can do. And he had a great NXT run. Like I said, that angle he had with Velveteen Dream was one of my favorite angles of the last decade, easily. Um, and when he got to the main roster, everything went to crap. They, started him and stopped him and started him, stopped him. And the end of the road was that whole eye gimmick with Seth Rollins. I mean, that eye gimmick has been killing a lot of characters off lately. And they finally tried to bring him back to the Dark Father thing. It was starting to look good. Bringing him out to beat Big E was interesting. So, because we're thinking about that matchup, it's like that's going to be a good matchup. And now he's gone. And so, like, okay, why'd you even bother doing that if you knew you were going to release him? So I'm bummed for him, but a guy who is that talented and has that unique look is not going to be unemployed for long. And AEW would be a great spot for him because as one of the taller characters to match up with a guy like a Lance Archer, and some of the other tall guys, so that they're not always mismatched against guys who are 5'9", young buck size. Makes sense, and he can go for those top titles and get brought in kind of like Andrade was this past week. It's a big deal. The hottest free agent, quote unquote, and hit the ground running. So, and maybe he does like Karrion and Scarlett did, come in together with Zelina, and as a package deal, and have that kind of dynamic going for him. And maybe Zelina does all the talking, and he just stands there looking menacing. That would be cool. So I think the future is bright for him. I would love to see him go head to head with a lot of those guys in AEW. So I think that's the logical next step for him.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about Selena. And I mean, I think they'd want to do stuff them together just to set, just to kind of do it. And then if she, goes off and wrestles like on AEW herself, that's fine. Or like you said, if he is a brooding type character, I think that's fine too. So yeah, he's the one that I think we're all going to be like, okay, that's where we want to see. And even he said now that the cuffs might be off, it'll be interesting to see what he can do with the, what he wants to do. So he also he said, yes, it was a little tough being, with the cuffs on, but at the same time, that makes you almost have to be more creative because you're given this and then you have to make, do something with it. So, like I said, I think he's approached it the best way you can. He's doing some Twitch streams, like playing Call of Duty, to try to get the fan base behind him, which they already are. But, it's a good way to connect with fans. And then when you show up, it's going to be a big pop, unlike, I think, Andrade's yesterday, but we'll get to that later. And then we'll, see what Tommy End can do. And like you said, I think Selena being a package deal with him would be a good idea, just to even get her foot going with him as well. Now, the last one, Braun Strowman. And it was interesting. You mentioned WWE Lifer. I thought he was. I mean, and he must, I think he must have been having a pretty good sized chunk of change to his name. And maybe that's why they made the cut. But he was the name that, we never heard anything to him saying, I want out. Never heard a bad, was he green in the ring at first? Yeah. But then you think the matches he had with Big Show, with Roman, with Kevin Owens. I mean, I thought he's come a long way from his days with the Wyatt family. And, they put the title on too late. Like he should have beat Brock one of those times, either Crown Jewel or No Mercy. But I don't know where he's going to end up, honestly. I mean, I guess you can try to throw the money at him at AEW, but I don't know. Like I wonder if maybe he might just take a break from wrestling and try the acting thing, or I don't know. Like it's gonna be he's just somebody I want to see what is his next step. Everybody else I feel like is going to keep wrestling somewhere. I don't know about him. What do you think, Greg? Do you have any ideas on where you think Braun Strowman will end up?
If I was Tony Khan, I would not sign him because he's too, like you said, I thought he would have been a lifer too. And he's too attached to the WWE brand. If he comes over, all the guys who aren't afraid to take shots at the ex-WWE guys and talk about being from the other place, he'd be lit up with that. And that's what everybody, the fans would think because we know him. So no matter what name he comes back under, he's still going to be Braun Strowman. And they were really too little too late on him. Once he had to start speaking for himself, it started going downhill after breaking off from the White family. And he was hot when he was doing the business with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And the thing is, he became a caricature of himself. His moniker, Monster Among Men, when he was, pulling down trusses on top of Brock Lesnar and turn over an ambulance with Roman Reigns inside of it, that was monstrous. And eventually he stopped doing monstrous things. So it was just a name. It was just a catchphrase and he wasn't living up to it. And that's when we stopped buying in on it. And, other things undermined it, the Shane McMahon, Braun, and just him being, jobbed out to so many people and not developing that character in any way. He was best at the start when he was doing those monstrous things, and we could get behind that. And when he stopped doing that, then it was time for a change. He should have done some type of character change because he went from being a heel to a face, and nothing changed. His look didn't change. His mannerisms didn't change. His moveset didn't change. And so, it's partly WWE's fault and it's partly his own fault for not adapting. When you make those changes, you have to, repackage yourself accordingly. And he didn't do that. And we all kind of got tired of him. And so he was one of those guys. When he was on TV, I was ready to see what else was on the other channel. And so I think it's better for him to go off to a smaller company. I can see him in Impact challenging those guys because they have nothing in the way of star power, and he would immediately make a big splash, or go indie or ROH, and repackage yourself completely. Maybe shave off the beard or change your attire or something like that, and just do something completely different. And maybe later WWE calls you back because you never want to burn the bridges as much as you may hate it, because I guarantee out of all the companies that are going right now, WWE still has the most money to pay. So you always want to keep that door cracked open if it's possible.
Yeah, I think the Shane McMahon stuff, like you said, he should have, something should have changed there. Either you walk away for a couple weeks or something, but that really ruined him. I mean, and like you said, the changing of, at least he shaved off that stupid ponytail. Like, obviously he's going bald and, the time was coming, but trim up that beard or something, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where he's going to end up. And Impact would be a good one because there's not a lot of big guys there. They just did sign Big Cass, so that him and Braun could be something. Moose is pretty big guy, size, but even he probably looks small next to Braun. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where he pops up in at the end of 3 months or worse. So, but yeah, that was that was a big surprise on, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, that was a tough couple days for those guys, especially, like I said, just Ruby Riott, and I mean Lana for all she's tried to do, and Buddy Murphy for what he's, like you said, the little things he's done. But Aleister Black was the name. I was like, man, that just That's the one I'm like, okay, we got to get him somewhere else, take off the handcuffs, and just let him go because I think he could do something. So Monday Night Raw happened. We got a new announcer and Jimmy Smith. First off, Greg, real quick, any thoughts on Jimmy Smith? I personally thought he sounded confident. He seemed to click pretty well with Corey and Byron. He seemed to be knowledgeable of what he was talking about. So I think, already he's a step ahead of Adnan Verk and feels like he'll be a good fit for the time, whatever time he is. So how about yourself? What do you think of the new announcer, Jimmy Smith?
Yeah, I love this one. Jimmy Smith is awesome. And I'm an MMA guy,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's his world was MMA. He was a Bellator play-by-play guy for years and years.
Hmm.
And he's spent time in other MMA organizations. So the advantage with that is he's been calling lots and lots of MMA fights, one-on-one fights, and got used to building the backstory behind these fighters while the fight is taking place. So he knows how to do this. He knows, um, how to bread his butter, as opposed to a guy like Adnan, who is mostly dealing with team sports on ESPN. Boxing is pretty much dead. They don't talk about boxing anymore. They only talk about UFC when there's a big card coming up. And so he's covering team sports. So going to something like wrestling that's, mostly one-on-one was a whole different level for him, and he wasn't ready for it. But Jimmy Smith, he's lived it for the last couple of decades. So I've heard him call lots of fights. He's a great announcer, and he brings the energy, he brings the knowledge, and he always sounds like the most intelligent guy in the room, even though he's sitting at a table with two other fighters. So I love this pick, and it's going to be like a more of an aloe without all the metaphors,
Mm-hmm.
the crazy metaphors like Moro gave us. Just as much energy, but just more straightforward knowledge, and he's still going to bring that passion. So I love the the acquisition. I think he's going to be a great benefit, a lot more than the other guys they've been bringing in, and he knocked it out of the park on his first night. So I'm looking forward to hearing him build on that.
And like you said, they only had a week to kind of get him ready, but it sounds like he kind of already knew how to work an announce table. And that's the one thing I don't think Adnan Verk really had. He can call highlights, he can give you analysis, but I don't think he'd had much work in the idea of, color commentary or play-by-play, as it were. So, it seemed like a really good fit for them, and I'll look forward to hearing his voice as the new the new play-by-play for Raw. Nikki Cross was out there. Charlotte Flair was out there. We had the Miz TV stuff. We had Rhea Ripley. Essentially, it led to Nikki Cross defeating Charlotte Flair in a beat the clock challenge because Charlotte wanted to prove that she could beat Nikki Cross. And she said in a minute, but they gave her 2 minutes anyway. So I personally like Nikki Cross being involved with this. It's almost like the Asuka role, but it's a new face. And you can still have Asuka in there, after Hell in a Cell. So, Greg, how do we feel about Nikki Cross being inserted into this, or Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley dilemma?
I thought exactly the same thing, that she's become the pendulum between Charlotte and Rhea, which was Asuka's role for the last couple months, and now it's going to be Nikki, and I still don't like it, but I don't like a happy cheery Nikki. I like crazy, off the hinges, sanity Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope there's some middle ground we can find with her, because she's a lot better than what they're casting her for, even though she's getting wins, and air quoting wins, 2 minute beat the clock challenges just to, um, you know, pit Charlotte and Rhea against each other through an intermediary. Like I said, she's just the new face. She's the Asuka in this situation, swinging between the two of them. So it's different in the sense that the person who's the pendulum is getting the wins, conceptually it's slightly different, but I hope they don't continue dragging that out for the next month or whatever it is until SummerSlam comes on, because it's going to get old real quick.
Well, I bet you're going to give Nikki Cross a title opportunity after Hell in a Cell. So whoever comes out of Charlotte and Rhea, then Nikki Cross can step up and say, hey, I beat both you women. So like we said, I think it's a new face. We know Nikki Cross, but it's still, she hasn't been in the title picture, if ever, maybe here and there. But this feels like, you're giving her a chance to kind of go out there and do her thing. Randy Orton defeated Xavier Woods with the Bro Derek. I'm kind of skipping over this because it's just still the New Day stuff. And Riddle and Randy Orton. I did like Randy Orton's Bro Derek. I thought it looked pretty good. I wanted to go next to Reginald defeating Shayna Baszler. But then Reginald was on the Alexa's Playground. He gets taken out. And the big deal was Shayna saying, I want to come here next week, and calling out Alexa Bliss, which nobody really has. So I think that's the bigger thing. What's going to happen in Alexa's Playground with Alexa Bliss, with Lily, and with Shayna Baszler? So Greg, unpack that for us.
Well, before I get there, though, I will say that the week before when Riddle hit that RKO, I popped for that big time, because that was definitely out of nowhere. And the last thing you expect to see out of that match, which was a fantastic match with him and Xavier. So when he hit that RKO, I was like, I really popped for that one. So, now they're trading that back and forth, and, it is what it is. But that was awesome.
Did you pop for Bro Derek? By Orton.
Once I noticed what he was trying to do, because he still caught it in a weird way and then fix it up, and I was like, oh, okay. So this might become a thing now. But I was also hoping that, it's a way of passing, sometimes the guy who's known for a legendary move will pass it to a younger guy, like Ric Flair did with The Miz in the Figure 4. And another example, I forgot what it was. But in that sense, that, this guy gives another wrestler a seal of approval to use his finisher. I noticed other people who were using the pedigree. I was trying to think of who is using the pedigree. I noticed there's a female in Impact using it right now, or not Impact, AEW. But maybe those Triple H gave the okay to somebody else to use the pedigree. But maybe this was a way for Randy to pass that on to Riddle, and this becomes part of the new Riddle. Is that in addition to using like the Bro Mission and the Floating Bro, now he has a snap finisher like the RKO to add to his repertoire, and that add some more serious layer to his character. So I'm hoping it goes something like that. So that was my thoughts on that. The whole thing with Shayna and Reginald and Alexa, I've been ready for the whole Shayna and Reginald Nia business to be over, and I was hoping it was with the title losses, and it's still dragging on a little bit. So I think it's going to end up with a program with Nia and Shayna at least in a one match. But I like the business with Alexa because I want old Shayna back. I want NXT Shayna back, and not the Shayna who's been taking every L for months and months and months, because she's better than that. And calling out Alexa is going to we're going to finally get to see her fiendish side or Lily-ish fiendish side. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing what this actually manifests into ring-wise. So Shayna's still going to take some L's, unfortunately, but it's going to bring that out so we can see what we're going to get with Alexa. So I'm excited for that, and I hope that this brings some of the old evil Shayna out too. So, you don't have her face, you have her, get her mean streak back, and it helps both characters.
Just as long as she's not biting the back of Alexa Bliss like she did to Becky Lynch when she first came out.
Right.
So, because of all the places you think to bite somebody, it's obviously your back. You get bit all the time in your back by a person like that. Anyways. But yes, I was going to say, you did want Shayna to possibly pick, but I feel like Shayna's still going to come up on the L with this. But like you said as well, I want to see what the fiendish side will be of Lily and Alexa Bliss. And I think that could bring out a fiendish side to, Shayna trying to maybe combat it. So I'm interested in it. And like we said, now you have somebody stepping up to Alexa Bliss. You don't have her being intimidated. So that kind of gives you back into the Shayna Baszler that we need to see. Mason T-Bar defeated Lucha House Party. That's all we need to say about that, because they are probably going to let Mason T-Bar be in some sort of title match for the tag team titles, because we need tag teams in there. How about Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo, both defeating Sheamus in single matches? I think this will be a good kickoff match, just like Humberto and Sheamus last month. You get Ricochet, you get Humberto, you get Sheamus. I would like to see Sheamus lose the title to one of those two, but I feel like Sheamus is going to come out on top. So, Greg, I'm guessing a triple threat match. Does that tickle your fancy, as it were, for like a kickoff match at Hell in a Cell?
They've been overdoing the triple threats way too much, but this one actually could be fun. And just with the dynamic that Ricochet and Humberto have established with Sheamus, I think it'd be really good. And it would be one of the few triple threats that I actually look forward to watching, because they haven't done anything to make triple threat special. But this one is taking on such a different dynamic because Sheamus has been so money with his challenges, and just, he's doing the open challenges without defending the belt. And, that has been new and fresh, and it's been better than the other open challenges, and is helping getting Ricochet and Humberto over. When that match was starting, it was calling out both of them. Thought just popped up in my mind. It would be funny if both of them ended up beating him, and look what happened. They did. So it's going a good direction, and I think it's only going to get better with those three. They seem to be working really great together. So I'm excited to see it, actually, and I hope they put it not on the kickoff, because it deserves to be on the main card.
Yeah, and that could happen too. Now, do you think that Sheamus? Oh, we lost you.
I'm here.
There you are. Okay. I was just going to say, should Sheamus lose it to one of these two guys yet, or should Sheamus, keep the title and then move on? Which direction are you leaning?
I'm really pulling for Ricochet to win. I don't think he'll win it at the at Hell in a Cell. I think it's going to happen at a few more weeks down the road. It should happen in a one-on-one match. Mm-hmm. But between Humberto and Ricochet, I'm Team Ricochet.
Yeah, and I still think Damian Priest is a guy that's kind of under the radar that, maybe could sneak into there, and I think he'd be a good U.S. title, because it'd be a good next step for him. So Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke defeated Naomi, and in Lana's last official match, which we didn't know at the time, but no big. The Blondes win. We knew that, and they're going to probably get a title shot at some point. Cedric Alexander defeated Shelton Benjamin. We're just keep this feud going because we don't know what we're going to do with Cedric next. So, but how about this? AJ Styles and Omos versus Elias and Jackson Riker. Elias walked out of the match and then had the promo about not wanting to be on the road with Jackson Riker. So I don't know. That seemed like Jackson Riker is going to get canned pretty soon. What do you think, Greg?
It was funny.
It was a very shot at him, and usually don't see those type of promos that just I don't want to be on the road with him. Like what? So yeah, what do you think about that whole deal?
I didn't read that much into it. I thought it was just meaning that he's just going back to being his narcissistic self and, doesn't want any part of Almost. But if we end up seeing Riker on the cut list, a month from now, that was definitely shot fired. And I thought the more logical thing is going to end up being the start of a feud with those two. And if it's going to be successful, then Riker's going to have to do what the other guys have it and, change his character. So to, get some support, we're about to go live in front of, fans very soon. And nobody's going to care about this rivalry if he doesn't do something to, get our interest, get our empathy. So, he's been there, standing there, just glaring holes through the camera, and we get care less. So it's on him to make it work. Otherwise, I think we will be talking about releases, and his name is on it pretty soon.
And that's a great point you bring up. Like the idea that when we get back to crowds, you feel like everybody's going to get some sort of pop. And I don't know if Riker's going to get anything. Riker just is not there's just nothing there. And he's the guy if he does get cut, I'm sure people will be like, oh, I hope he blah, blah, blah. Come on. I don't care where he ends up, honestly. So finally, Drew McIntyre defeated Kofi Kingston. I know people are tired of Drew and Bobby, but we need it. We need to finish it up, and it needs to happen in the cell. We're doing a contract signing next week. We've already kind of talked about it. Would I like to see Kofi in there just as a mix-up? Sure. But if we're all about trying to be logical, it only made sense to have Drew and Bobby go at it. Maybe you could give Kofi a title shot that next night against Bobby Lashley, and then you pay that off. So any thoughts there, Greg, on the end of the evening with Drew McIntyre winning the match against Kofi?
Nope, very anticlimactic. And we all knew that Drew was going to win. They did have a good match, though. I liked the match very much. Finish was, I see what they were going at, and it probably sounded better in the planning than in the execution. But it is what it is. It got us there, and I've subscribed to your plan of letting them have it out in the cell, and then giving Kofi the winner. And then we still have by now we're back in front of live crowds, and now it's time for Brock Lesnar's music to hit. So that's what I want, and that's what I hope we're getting pretty soon.
And like we said so many times, right now there's nobody for Lashley after Drew. And you just got rid of Braun, who was just in the title match, a month ago? So, I mean, like I said, if you do the one-off with Kofi, then where do you go? It's going to be really, we better get up to Canada, back up the truck, whatever money you cut for him, Braun, Alistair, Ruby, Buddy Murphy, Santana. Here you go, Brock. There's the money. But I don't know. You gotta think with SummerSlam, especially in Vegas, because that's the talk. I guess they want SummerSlam in Vegas. you can't do Lashley and AJ or like you got to do something big. So
Yeah.
and on the other, like on SmackDown, which we're getting into, it's going to be interesting to see which direction you go there too. So we'll get right into SmackDown. Roman Reigns, he kind of talked up Usos better bring home the titles. So we had 2 matches for the SmackDown titles, the tag team titles. We did have the first one. Rey Mysterio and Dominic defeated the Usos, even though Jimmy Usos was literally off the ground twice. The referee did not see it. So the end of the night, they got a rematch and tried to, do it up. But there was a DQ because, it's the Mysterios and Rey and all that. And Roman Reigns just went to town, which we'll get into. But first off, Greg, let's get into the Usos and the Mysterio family tag team titles. What do you think about the 2 matches with them?
It's what the Usos need to, get back in the mix and put over the Mysterios even more, as if they need it. Rey definitely doesn't need it, but give it to Dominic. He needs that rub. And Usos against anybody, I'm all for it. So, they had a banging match with Street Profits last week, and then this. So I'd like to see more of it, even though the Rey and Dominic team isn't really. I'm not loving him, and probably that's just because Dominic's still so green, and some of the stuff comes off kind of awkward. But kid's going to learn, and got to start somewhere. And if barely he's instead of going through college, he's starting right out in the pros. So, in a manner of speaking, so that's to be expected. But matches are banging, and of course, he had to fit into the Roman storyline, so he is going to have to get involved. And but I can see it becoming a series because it's going to end up with the Usos winning the championships, and so they can have the twin gold as they termed it. So I think it's just going to be another 2 or 3 week arc before it happens.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was just thinking with Dominic Mysterio, everybody talks about Charlotte Flair being Ric Flair's daughter and how she gets all this favoritism. You talk about Nia Jax, so she's The Rock. Nobody says anything about Dominic. He's been beat down by Brock. He got to wrestle Seth Rollins in his first match ever. He gets beat down by I mean, you talk about a guy who's, getting a rub. I mean, that's Dominic Mysterio. And I will bring that up about Roman Reigns. So Roman just takes out everybody because it's Roman. Are we going to see Roman and Rey at Hell in a Cell, Greg? Or like Roman versus the Mysterio family? Like, Dominic and Rey? I don't know which direction they're going to go, but it feels like they'll probably go Dominic or Rey and Roman Reigns. But I don't want that in the Cell. I think that just needs to be a one-on-one match. What are you thinking with Roman and Rey possibly going at it?
No, I agree with him. Attacking the family, that definitely fuels the fire for that match to happen. But there's not enough beef behind it to put it in the Cell. So, there's no reason that both championships need to be in the Cell on the Raw and SmackDown side. So this could be the undercard to Lashley and Drew, which should close tonight. Roman could go on second to last in a regular match against Mysterio, or a match with a stipulation, because I think by this point we both know that Rey's going to get smashed unless there's some type of equalizer put into the language. Mm-hmm. So, otherwise it can be a great match, but it'll go on before Drew and Lashley.
Yeah, and because I was thinking the other Hell in a Cell. I mean, I've vouched all along for Seth Rollins and Cesaro, but now this is kind of the middle of the night. But Bianca Belair challenged Bayley, and Bayley doesn't want to answer it. So I'm going to assume we're going to get Bayley and Bianca in the Cell. Do you think that's going to happen?
The match, yes. The Cell, no.
Okay.
For the same reason as Rey and Ray and Rollin or Ray and Roman, because there hasn't been that much beef. It has been going on for long enough to warrant the sell. I'm at a loss thinking of which other rivalry should be in the cell, but I don't think it should be those two matches. Bailey has been a great antagonist, but laughing at her and clowning her at every opportunity. But I don't. That's the reason. Apollo has a better reason to be in the cell with Big E or something like that. It's it needs to be something that's more long running and something that's more where they built up that angst between each other for so long that it would warrant the cell.
And that's why I go to Seth and Cesaro. I think if you had that open the night and just let them tear each other apart, and then the end of the night, like you said, it has to be Lashley and Drew end of the night in the cell, because that just is the logical end of that. So I just didn't. I thought about it, and then I'm like you made up some valid points that doesn't have that beef that it needs to be in the cell. Probably not, but they got the cell there anyway, so you kind of think they're just going to pull the trigger on it, especially with the title on the line. So some other stuff on SmackDown. Sorry. So Seth Rollins walked out of the interview because Kayla brought up Cesaro. I thought we might see Cesaro attack him there. So I guess we'll give that another week before Cesaro's back. Carmella defeated Liv Morgan. She's going now as the most beautiful woman in the world. Whatever. The Liv Morgan thing, too, where she goes, you're like a 7, but I'm going to make you a 10 because I'm going to beat you so bad. I'm like, wait, how does that weird? I didn't if they didn't give her a script on that, then whatever. But I was just like, wait a minute, you're and I'm trying to give Liv Morgan, she's lost all of her best friends in the past 6 months, 7 months. So, I'll give her some grace because, she's out on an island by herself probably right now. But Carmelo gets the win. And then King Corbin defeated Shinsuke Nakamura, but Shinsuke still has the crown. And Rick Boogs. When are we getting Rick Boogs and Elias, Greg? I mean, is that what we want now? We need Elias on SmackDown. Like that, Rick Boogs and him. And then Apollo Crews defeated Kevin Owens in the IC title because even though Commander Aziz could not be at ringside, he took out Big E anyway. Took out Kevin Owens. So, yeah, I think we need Kevin Owens and Aziz going at it. What do you think, Greg?
I would sign up for that in the cell just because it escalated so quickly. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Owens is a guy that I want to see in the cage. But, yeah, it's not been a fair fight, definitely, with Aziz, and it's time for him to have his debut. And it would make more sense for KO to call out Aziz than to call out Apollo because, his problem is 100% Aziz. And Big E is still left to continue his rivalry with Apollo, which both of those matches I would sign up to see those in the cell just because they have been so violent and dirty. So, that's what we want to see. We want to see those dirty rivalries in the cell. But that would make sense. KO against Aziz and then Apollo and Big E go at it again because they haven't had a bad match together yet.
And, of course, you could throw the idea if Owens beats Aziz, if he interferes at anything, then Apollo will lose the title. So I think that's a good stipulation to add to it, and that'll probably happen at SmackDown. I don't think it happens at Hell in a Cell. I feel like sometimes you save these, even though they should be on the card, they just don't. So next up, let's finish NXT. Then we'll take a small break and get into all of AEW because AEW had Double or Nothing. We'll give our thoughts on that. And then, of course, they had Friday Night Dynamite last night. So let's finish up with NXT. The big thing there was So we had a triple threat match that started with Kyle O'Reilly, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne. Adam Cole comes in and wrecks it. Karrion Kross confronted Adam Cole about wrecking it. I thought Adam Cole was at his best on promo-wise in a while. It felt like you finally saw the fire back. I think Adam Cole was kind of coasting there for a little bit. And now, it's like, okay, he wants to turn it on. But so we're going to get a fatal 5-way, which is a mouthful. It'll be Kyle O'Reilly, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, Adam Cole, and Karrion Kross. And a lot of people are thinking Karrion Kross loses it at this to kind of move up. I don't think I see that happening yet. I think you wait till SummerSlam because I think you still want Karrion Kross to be built up, and then lose it. So what do you think, Greg, about this whole fatal 5-way that we're getting now at TakeOver in your house?
Well, I agree with you on the Adam Cole because he was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I was enjoying that match, the 3-way eliminator. And while that match was going on, I was thinking, okay, we haven't seen Adam Cole since, aside from those little vignettes about with the Sports Center guy doing the little interview by the pool. And so I was like, one way or another, is just coming back around to Adam Cole. And boom, a few minutes later, there he comes and wipes out the field. And so, that promo was hot fire. He was feeling himself 100%, and it was amazing. He definitely carried that whole segment. Kross still sucks is on the microphone, just stands there and mean mugs you and doesn't say anything new. It's the same thing no matter who's standing in front of him. But Adam Cole was, the Adam Cole we know and love. And before he got to NXT, I didn't know anything about him. And I'm in love with the guy. So, but I think he's right. It just all comes back around to Adam Cole, and it's going to end with him as a champion. The only question is it going to happen in this 5-way, or is it going to happen later? And I could see Kross losing here for the reason that he's been built up as the top guy from the moment he walked in. Because remember, he came in, he immediately won the title. And he got injured, he came back, he immediately won the title. And so you can't make him any bigger than he already is. And it's time for NXT to reset. So we get ready to send Kross back up, put Adam Cole back on top, and then you have, much needed star power on the main roster with Kross coming up and his whole entrance, his whole the steam he's built up behind him, carrying over, plus Adam Cole, who's back on his game to push NXT forward and have amazing matches with all those guys, Gargano and Riley and whoever else comes along, because size-wise, it doesn't look right with Kross. He towers over these guys, and the believability comes into question. Even though we know those guys are much better in-ring talents than he is. So I can see him losing this match. I think it's either going to be here or at SummerSlam. But I think it'd be better off for him to move up now than move up later.
And that's why I gave pause, because like you said, the mic time, it feels like he knows what he wants to say, but it's the delivery, and he doesn't always – there's not a lot of conviction behind it, I think. And so I think, that's why I was saying if there's a few more weeks down in NXT, keep working those mic skills, maybe that might help. But, sometimes you got to sink or swim. So if it's his time to go up, him and Scarlett, we'll see what they can do. So some other things on NXT. So Ember Moon called out Raquel Gonzalez. Sounds like we're going to get those two going at it at TakeOver. But Dakota Kai actually took out Ember first. So it'll be interesting to see if they ban Dakota Kai from there. But what do you think, Greg? Ember Moon, Raquel Gonzalez, that's a pretty solid matchup for TakeOver for the women's side of things, right?
That would be an awesome match. I say that with a reservation because, like I said, since Ember's first run down in NXT, she's lost her way. And when she disappeared for a while and came back, I was hoping that her character would be better and more well-defined. And nothing's changed from when she went down from the main roster to when she came back. You know, a new catchphrase and slightly different ring attire. I don't see the pop tabs on her gear anymore, but aside from that, she hasn't stood out really. So knowing what she can do from her first run in NXT, I hope that's what we're getting again from her. Gotta hold my tongue with that because I haven't seen anything that shows me that she has. I mean, the whole title run with Shotzi was kind of meh. Shotzi really carried, you know, the team personality-wise and skill-wise, in my opinion. Even though I know Ember is better than what she's been showing, so I hope she can, you know, really bring old Ember back and give Raquel a good match. She should be able to, and but this isn't who I see beating her. On a sidebar, I'm going to give you this image of Lashley beating Drew, and on the next Raw, Karrion's entrance comes out. And
that could be
let
something.
that marinate for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Cross versus Lashley be pretty awesome to me. So.
Or if you do Scarlett with the whole, like she brings out the hourglass, and you don't have Cross come out first, because I think that was a good way to build it up. And I think you bring up a good point about Ember Moon. I don't see any charisma. Like in the ring, she's solid. I thought some of the stuff with, you know, Shotzi was good. But when she's by herself, there's just, I mean, it's just like she's just out there. You know, there's not a lot of oomph behind her. And I don't know if that's NXT's problem, if that's her problem, like what. I've never seen her on the indie scene, so I don't know if that's just who she is. But it does feel like there's not a lot of, you know, meat and potatoes behind her when she talks. It's just like, and then you know, catchphrase is the biggest deal. Like, does she have a catchphrase? Like, I don't feel like she ever adds anything. You know, she talks about the eclipse a lot. Like, I'm going to hit that, but that's her move. You know, there's nothing to her. So,
well, there's no Ember's Law thing she's trying to push.
Yes, I guess that's true. Yeah, and that tells you everything it needs to know right there. Because if you can't think of it, then it's not a good thing. But how about things we are caring about? Maybe Jake Atlas defeated LA Knight, but we have LA Knight, Cameron Grimes fighting for the affection of $1 Million Man, and it makes me think back. And you're an Attitude Era guy. This makes me think of the Terry Invitational Tourney, or the Tit, as it was known back then, where we had the bag of money, and we had the Hardy Boys trying to fight for that bag of money. So we just need $1 Million Man in a shark cage. Whoever gets to unlock the shark cage first gets the services of $1 Million Man. Are you in, Greg? I mean, do you buy into that?
Hey, man, one of my
We've seen crazier things.
I know. One of my favorite things from last week was the $1 Million face-off with DiBiase and Grimes, and I've already been loving that angle. And then LA Knight comes out, and I pop all over again because I am an LA Knight fan. Just because, like I said, I saw what he did in Impact as Eli Drake, and all that stuff was money. The whole business with, you know, his little talk show that he was doing with the dummy button and nothing has changed. The catchphrases haven't changed. Which I'm surprised that he was able to bring all that with him, and nobody told him to change it. I'm glad they didn't. And the guy is just magic on the mic, and I love him so much. So him and Grimes and DiBiase is which is brew of awesomeness. And I am here for all of that. So whoever wins, we all win, because it's going to be a great match. These two are great in the ring. They're great on the microphone, and DiBiase has been just feeling himself, laughing at both of them. And I can't pick a winner because I love both of them. Well, I'm going to give my little nudge to LA Knight just because of the Eli Drake history, and I want to see all that come back with, the talk show and, the attitude, and the guy's just money. So, and pun intended. So, love you, Cameron Grimes, but I have to sit on the LA Knight side of the fence for this one.
Well, I'm starting to wonder, maybe we just get $1 million corporation and they end up teaming together. I mean, you can bring back IRS, baby, and, bring back Andre and all that. But yeah, I was really thinking, I'm like, watch $1 million man just say he's going to sign Jake Atlas. Like, that's right. It's probably going to be some random guy out there. But, I think you bring back the $1 million belt or something like that. It feels like they're just kind of going with it. I don't think there's a long-term plan. Not even a short term. I think it's literally week to week, and let's see what it can do. So, Kushida defeated Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes was somebody else's name. He was named something else. I don't know, but good little, coming out party for Carmelo. I keep wanting to say Carmelo Anthony, but anyways, Kushida defeated him. And the Way defeated Zoe Stark and Zeta Raymer. Not the kiss yet, but we're getting closer to the kiss, I'm sure. And then finally, the tag team champions MSK defeated Legado de Fantasma. The big story there was Escobar came out and Bronson Reed came out. So I wonder if we might do all titles on the line and do a 6-person tag at TakeOver. And then, you write off Legado de Fantasma, you write off Escobar, because we keep harping on it. They're going to get called up sooner rather than later. I just don't think they're the most ready. They're the most needed right now, I think, too, on Raw. So, yeah. Greg, would you be okay with the all titles on the line, 6-person match? I know we normally like one-on-one, but with these guys all being intermingled, it just makes sense.
Yeah, for the purpose of getting Legado up to the main roster, yeah. Usually no, but in this case, definitely. And there's plenty of tag teams to vie for it with Grizzly Young Veterans and Tommaso and Thatcher and MSK, and there's a glut of teams down there. And Legado had their reign, so it's time to move them up and out of the mix and let the new guys go at it. So yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, so that was NXT. Like I said, it was a pretty good show. Let's take a quick break, collect all of our thoughts so we can get all your AEW news, and then we'll call it a day. But we got a lot of AEW stuff to talk up. So we'll take a quick break for some realty talk with your rockstar realtor, Sean Nugent.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSports1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering, if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
All right, and we are back, ready to rock and roll, all about AEW. We're going to give this whole kind of last half of our show because AEW had Double or Nothing. Then we had Friday Night Friday Night Dynamite. Almost said SmackDown there, but we were busy last night. Full disclosure, I made it to about almost the end of Dynamite, and then I fell asleep. So I did see the results, so I can at least get my thoughts on that. But anyways, so Double or Nothing, Greg, it was great to see crowds back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
It added a ton to the pay-per-view, and it made it a lot more enjoyable for me. Even though the matches were fantastic, that crowd reaction and seeing that pop and hearing those pops makes the whole thing more memorable, more special, and so hopefully it stays this way now.
And the setup was different for the crowd, where they had that hard camera. They had a crowd kind of behind there, and the announce table was still off to the side. So you felt like, and then they had the entranceway. It was just one. Normally they had the two entrances. Now they just have all the one. So I thought, the crowd added so much more to it. Serena Deeb defeated Rio by submission. I thought Serena played up more of a heelish role in this match. Any thoughts on the kind of this kickoff match, Greg? Did you get a chance to catch it is what I was trying to say. But Serena Deeb seemed more the heelish side in this match against Rio.
No, I didn't get to see the kickoff show. I predicted Rio to win in that match, but I didn't get to see it. So I was wondering about that match. But so
it wasn't bad. It was a good kickoff show, and like I said, I think Serena was kind of doing a little more tactics to kind of get the crowd against her. But how about Hangman Page defeated Brian Cage by pinfall? I thought a solid match. I keep saying you got to give me Hangman Page and Kenny Omega at All Out, and I think that should be Page's coming out party. So any thoughts on that first match there, Greg?
Yeah, Cage and Heyman had a great match. Great match to start the night. Got the crowd worked up, and hearing them get started so soon, straight out the box with this match, it just made the match look better too. But Cage was awesome, and loved the match itself. So the right guy won. Got everybody wound up, and you definitely carried through the rest of the night. So great first match, great win by Heyman.
The Young Bucks defeated John Moxley and Eddie Kingston by pinfall. We had Brandon Cutler out there doing his shenanigans. This looks like this was the write-off for Moxley, so he's going to go off and be a dad for a little bit. I still cannot believe he's going to be a dad. That just blows my mind. Like, if you had a betting odds on who you think would be pregnant, Renee Young was on my low end of the spectrum. I'll just say that right now. Any thoughts on this match for you, Greg? I really thought, real quick, sorry. I thought Moxley and Kingston should have, if it kept feeling like just give them the win, even if you strip the titles off them and then write off Moxley. But, it felt like they should have won this match.
I expected the Bucks to win, so I wasn't holding out hope that they would, because I see Kingston as in the weak link. And was they kind of, do that back in my face by pitting Moxley. But, the regular Young Bucks underhanded tactics, but that's what we want. If they're going to be heels, be heels. And that's what they did. It was a great match, a lot of back and forth, a lot of great spots. And, if Moxley's going to get written out, knowing him, that would be the way he would want to go out, like getting obliterated by 4 BT triggers in a row, and make it make sense. So now he's out indefinitely, using air quotes, and he'll be back and he'll have a new child to fight for. So shout out to Mox, but love the match, and storyline wise, it makes the most sense.
And somebody brought this up on Twitter, and I hadn't even thought about it, but the Young Bucks, they said they were channeling, they were the person's opinion, the early days of DX. And now that I see that, I can kind of get behind the Bucks as heels. do you see a little bit of that early DX, like Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like vibes with the Young Bucks, Greg?
No, but that's probably because nobody's mentioned it in that way. The loud, obnoxious, and just so over the top with it that thinking about those early DX, that it's possible. I have to see some more of it, but because they're really just turning a page with going over the top heel. The gear changes and the how many $1,000 shoes and the young boys and all that stuff. So applying that, maybe I'll have to see some more of it, and then but it makes sense if they're using that as an onus, something to go off of.
I mean, because let's face it, they already took Suck It in the crotch chops, so why not try to channel, Triple H's early days and Shawn Michaels? But I thought that it was just somebody's, tweet, and I'm like, oh, I kind of bought into it because I was like, I kept saying I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to channel, and I couldn't figure it out. So, Jungle Boy won the Casino Battle Royale. He beat Christian Cage. I thought Christian Cage was going to win it, and of course he was right there. I felt the surprise of Lio Rush. That was kind of cool to see, though. I did not have Lio Rush on my bingo card for, the Joker card, and he did re-sign with New Japan. But if New Japan has a relationship with AEW, maybe we see more of Lio Rush. But I thought that was kind of cool to see Lio Rush. Like, that felt like a legit surprise name to see there in the Joker slot. So any thoughts on the Casino Battle Royale there, Greg?
Yeah, for those of us who are people who are listening and following the show, you saw that in my predictions, I predicted Jungle Boy winning. So I was happy I got that pick right. Lio Rush was definitely a surprise. Nobody thought about his name when thinking about that Joker spot. You mentioned the Big Show getting up from the announce table and walking into the ring, so I half expected that, or some of the recent WWE releases. But yeah, nobody saw Lio Rush coming, and he was awesome for that 4.5, 5 minutes that he was in the ring, and all the moves he was doing, quicker than a hiccup, like JR used to like to say. And the guy looks fantastic. His moves look phenomenal. And so I'm curious to see if he's going to end up being, splitting time with New Japan and AEW, or this was just a one-off, because I loved the guy when he was down in NXT and he was killing it. But so I'm a fan of the guy, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with him. But the Battle Royal was the Battle Royal, but the right guy won, and more Lio Rush, please, because that guy is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even remember anything about the Battle Royale other than Jungle Boy winning, towards the end. It just seemed like it was his time, and he'll get, I think they said in 3 weeks. So I think they're going to do it at Saturday Night Dynamite. So that'll be June 26th is when we're going to get Jungle Boy and Kenny Omega going for the title. So let's get into it. Cody Rhodes defeated, that's right, Cody Rhodes defeated Anthony Ogogo by pinfall. This was the wrong call. I'm sorry. Like, I love Cody Rhodes, but this, and it was a short match too. It was like, it says in Wikipedia it was an 11-minute match. It felt like it was even shorter, honestly. But I don't get the idea of Cody Rhodes going over. I get it's Memorial Day weekend. I get that he cut the promo, but would it have hurt Cody to lose that night to Anthony Ogogo? And I don't understand this result at all. And after last night's results, I still don't get it. Like, this feud with the Nightmare Family and the Factory is just like, man, it's gone to crap. Like, it is just it's the coldest feud we've ever. AEW is all about hot stuff. This is like the coldest of cold. It is Outcast Hazia colder than cold feud right now because there's just nothing there. And I hate being that negative because we're pretty positive. We try to give a good spin on stuff, but I can't give any positives on this right now. So, Greg, help me out of the darkness. Is there anything we can take away good from Cody Rhodes beating Anthony Ogogo?
No.
Okay, there you go.
I'm thinking that maybe there's like, okay, Cody's going to go over in this one and you'll get it back on TV. But that's not what you want. You want, your new star that you're grooming, the Olympic champion, to, go over on the big stage. And just because Cody's using his father's nickname for one night is not a legitimate reason to give him the win. The match was, lackluster. After putting the guy down with, his famous bolo punch, and then using the fact that he has a rib injury coming in because he trained too hard as an excuse for him to get the win or, take the loss is kind of just weak booking. Ogogo definitely should have won the match and, gone over strong. Cody can take it. He's pretty much Teflon at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was definitely the wrong call with him getting the win. It had a very Rocky IV vibe with Cody's ring gear and the American Dream, and then the foreigner as the challenger. Those are my first thoughts when I saw that match coming or getting started.
But then Cody, and he doesn't even have anything tributed to Dusty, like no polka dots, like nothing. Like because somebody screen capped it. It was more of Sting, like Great American Bash era type outfit. So I'm like, well, what was the point of even using your dad's name? Give me some polka dots on your boots or something like, Tommy Dreamer did a better tribute to the American Dream when American Dream passed away. Tommy Dreamer had the gear that was polka dot, and then a Bailey had the elbow pads that were polka dot for a little bit. So, it was just, I don't know it. And then it's funny to think like you said, if it's Rocky IV, well, do we need an English person, like a British person to be the evil foreigner? Like, I don't think of I don't think of England as this, oh no, I don't, like Russia. Yeah. Because Russia is a crap country. Like there's a lot of shit going there, or North Korea. Like you get some North Korean guy in there, but it's like a British guy. Like, do we need that as our evil villain? I don't think so. But speaking of Russians, Miro won against Lance Archer. I can't even remember this match, so I don't really have any thoughts on it. Did you have any thoughts on this match to kind of help the people out, Greg?
No, it was a decent match, but it really didn't, put either one of them over big. It was just, a brawl that was about 15 minutes too long.
It almost felt like the matches that we cared about were the matches that we cared, like the next one, Britt Baker, obviously need that. I had some trepidation there at the end, like, oh, she's just going to lose. But we keep talking about the right call. There was never a hotter moment to put the title on. And Britt Baker, and it was funny because everybody was cheering for her, even though she's the heel. But I think so many people have gotten behind her. And Britt Baker got the win. How about this match for you, Greg? Any thoughts on here?
Yeah, great match. And I was, surprised by the pop she got when she came out because I had my surround sound on and it went to 11. It was so loud, and I was
blast out the speakers.
Yeah, very impressed. And of course, the next week she has come out on TV and diss on the crowd to get them to hate her like they're supposed to. But great match, and definitely the right decision to put the belt on her because she's going to bring that heat when she comes out. And as much as we love Sheeta, she can't do that. I don't know if she can't or she won't because I know she can speak English, but she can't put down a fire promo. She just stands there and smiles, and her ring work does her talking, which is really good. But half the um, half the goal is to get these matches across before they happen, and you got to do that, on the mic, and she doesn't do that. And Britt Baker is going to make whoever she's working with smoking hot because she is going to diss on them on a rap beef level, and it's going to make you want to see it. So she's one of the best in the game at that. So very impressed with that match. It was a kick-ass match, and the right person won. So no complaints from me.
That was the biggest. Like we said, that was the biggest, easiest, best decision that AW's made. Darby Allin and Sting defeated the Men of the Year. I didn't know that's what they were calling themselves, but that's what it says in Wikipedia terms. So they are called the Men of the Year. Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky. We'll get more to that with Dynamite. I want to kind of tackle, where that might head next. Kenny Omega defeated Orange Cassidy and Pac, which was a really strong match. I thought at some point it did feel like any one of those three guys could have won. Really strong, match between all three. So, but let's get into it. The Inner Circle defeated the Pinnacle by pinfall. Sammy Guevara pins Shawn Spears in the middle of the ring. So who would have thought this would end up in the actual stadium? Or sorry, in Daly's Place. So it went back to Daly's Place. There were some good shots. I love the shot of MJF channeling Raven or Tommy Dreamer, off like an old ECW style. You had, the weird videos of like Shawn Spears in the chair area that he was in. You had Jake Hager, Wardlow fighting it in the freezer with the weird looking pigs, the most fake looking pigs I've ever seen. You had the beginning with the stretch limo. You had the rappelling down to stadium. You had the old FTR truck. I mean, everything just clicked here. A fun match, and Sammy Guevara getting the win for his team after surrendering. I thought was the good call, and we'll break down more what these guys could go. But Greg, kind of give us your lasting thoughts on the Inner Circle defeating the Pinnacle and double or nothing there at the end.
Yeah, it was a perfect match to end the night. These guys really brought it, and it was a smart thing to do to take cameramen and send them with everybody because the way they interweaved everybody's little personal vendettas was really well done. I was really impressed with that, and it was like kind of watching a mini movie happening in real time. So really good on that point. I say I want it to be more gritty and more violent, but when you think about it, it was pretty violent anyway. And it is a way to bring it full circle with Sammy. I liked it that he's the one who got the pin. Not from the sense that he's the one who surrendered blood and guts, but when I look at Sammy, he is, in my opinion, like the Tully to Jericho's Flair. As a single or as a tag team wrestler, he is excellent, and he is probably the most talented out of the rest of the bunch. And he's the guy who would replace the guy once, Jericho leaves, because he is that good. And they added some really interesting spots in there. Love the spot of him going through Urban Meyer's office. That was hilarious. That
coach was throwing some real heat too, wasn't he, to those footballs to Jericho? Like he was like rearing back. I'm like, he's right there. Jericho's got the bad elbow. Don't like. And then Urban Meyer just going, holy shit. Like, I was like,
right.
So there were moments that it got hokey, but like you said, when it picked up, I thought once they made it back to David's place, that scene and that was the thing too. The crowd wasn't. I think they were just watching it, so I don't think they knew how to react, because if you're just watching on the screen, it's hard to have that energy. So until it got back into Daly's place, I felt like it didn't pick up the steam as it needed to. Does that kind of where you think it went?
Yeah, you could definitely tell the energy definitely went back up once they came back into the arena. But I do want to shout out to the nightclub scene and Conan on the wheels of steel. That was so great.
That thing
I love that so much.
That was so weird.
That
was the only time we saw those guys, wasn't it? I felt like we really didn't even see them that much after that. Like that was kind of their own, I was, and like you said,
we saw them.
I would have liked to see everybody in the ring at the end, fighting against each other. And then if you give, Sammy Guevara and Sean Spears kind of the last, that's fine. But, it was funny how everybody had their moments of shine. Apparently Jericho was heavily involved with it. And, he has the movie experience. So I kind of wonder if that's why it felt more like, it almost felt more like the Tombstone Brawl thing with Undertaker and AJ Styles. It almost felt more like that, the Boneyard, because like you said, there was a lot of camera stuff. I mean, the Sean Spears stuff felt like all video, all magic of camera work, where he was just like pounding on the chair and all that. But, once it got back to the ring and the crowd was there, I thought it really picked up. So last night we had AEW Dynamite. We had the Young Bucks defeated Death Triangle. Brandon Cutler got involved and took out, was it Pac? Pac was on the ring. He used his camera. Eddie Kingston comes out there, Frankie Kazarian. So we have everybody kind of involved there. Any thoughts on that opening match, Greg?
No. Well, it's what you expect. A great match marred by outside interference.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
was there too much shenanigans?
Yeah, there was. This match should be allowed to stand on its own, because with these four, it could have been a 5-star match. All of them are that good, and we know the credentials of Pac and the Bucks, and Penta too. Even though we haven't got to see him much as a single, but if you're still following your Lucha Underground, you know how he can carry an organization. So, he can bring it when he's given the opportunity. So, these four left on their own, it could have been a 5-star match easy, but with all the outside nonsense with, the young boys and Cutler and Callis, it kind of ruined it for me.
And then you had Kazarian taking out the Good Brothers. So, there was a lot of shenanigans happening there. Mark Henry talked about possibly getting back in the ring. I'm just going to say it. I don't think he needs to get back in the ring. I don't care to see him back in the ring. Him and Big Show, just sit on the money, do the announcing thing, help the back, and that's it. But then Vicky Guerrero comes out there. I always think this is a downfall by the AEW. They don't let things breathe. Because you had Mark Henry talk, and then you have Vicky Guerrero, and he had no music, which was weird. He just comes out. Then you have Vicky Guerrero come out and, say whatever she said, excuse me, 5,000 times. Then she says, I'm bringing Andrade Idio coming. And then she stops, and it felt like forever. And then she starts laughing. So I thought, oh, well, she's just teasing him coming. And then he comes out to no music, no graphic. And he cuts a promo, which everybody was praising it. I thought it fell flat. I just thought, he says the same, I hate saying people say the same stuff, but he said he's going to be the face of AEW. And then that's it. And that's his, and it felt like the crowd didn't know how to react, because they gave him the little pop at the beginning, but then, with Vicky there and with him, I don't know, that pairing, I got to see it more. But what did you think about Andrade popping up in AEW, Greg? What were your feelings on it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And with Vicky bringing him out, it makes sense. The Latino connection. But that promo sucked. He didn't really say anything. He calls out the face of the Latinos, and I can be the face of Impact or the face of AEW. Okay, and everybody wants to be a face of AEW. So, and that's where the segment ended. So it's like it was kind of a waste. It would have been better for him to just come out, stand on the stage, let the crowd pop, and then he walks back away.
And then, he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, because that's what happened at the beginning. And for the first, 30 seconds, it was hot because people were realizing who he was. And, he takes the shades off and go, yep, that's him. There's Andrade. So, I had that moment. I was like, we knew it was coming, but we didn't know when. And, so that part was good. And then he started talking, and then we lost interest. So when we see him in the ring, he'll, get that back. But, he kind of shot himself in the foot on that one.
Well, then it feels kind of like minor league if you have no music ready for him. You have no entrance, graphic for him. You had no entrance graphic for Mark Henry. You had no music. It just felt 2 segments back. Those segments shouldn't have been back to back either. Maybe that was my bigger problem. Sometimes we got to let things breathe. Put this later in the night, or it just I don't know. It was a weird back-to-back segment. Then we get to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and it's like, what was the point of her interrupting?
Yes,
Mark Henry, and they have their awkward moment right there. They're just kind of looking at each other, and she's excusing them over and over, and they're just kind of looking at her. There could have been a moment there, and in exchange, but there wasn't. So there's another opportunity missed, and then Mark Henry gets kind of emasculated when they're trying to build him up. So that whole segment was trash.
It's almost like they didn't know she was going to come out, and that's what I feel like that's what AEW the last few weeks. It felt like there's this weird, I don't know, ebb and flow to it. There's no. It's just like, here, we're just going to throw everything out there, and whatever it is, it is. But speaking of the wrong person winning, we have Anthony Ogogo and QT Marshall defeating Cody Rhodes and Big Shotty Lee Johnson, but QT freaking Marshall gets the win because Anthony Ogogo punches Cody Rhodes, so he lands a punch here, and he could knock him out. But he couldn't beat him on Sunday night. Like I said, this whole factory nightmare stuff, they gave up on the Nightmare Collective with Brady Rhodes right away. They might need to hot shot this into something really quick and just be like, we effed up. I did not get QT Marshall beating Cody Rhodes because that should upset Anthony Ogogo, because he couldn't beat Cody Rhodes, but you're telling me QT Marshall can. So, and when Anthony Ogogo lands the Mark Henry, weapon of mass destruction punch to him to take him out. So, yeah, we got to do something with this because the crowd wasn't as hot last night anyway, and this didn't help matters as well. So, Greg, I'll let you unpack this as well because I gave my 2 cents and more.
Yeah, they did it wrong. The wrong guys won on the wrong night. So it should have been Ogogo on Sunday and then Cody on Friday. It would have made a lot more sense, and on both shows. And so I'm with you. I wish they would just kill this whole storyline because nobody cares. Nobody is buying QT Marshall as being any good. And the factory guys, let them succeed on their own. Go and the other guys whose names I still don't come off the top of mind because they're not getting
Aaron
enough
and Nick.
spotlight. Right.
Aaron and Nick, we'll just say their first names.
Yeah, they need to be able to shine on their own and make their own name. And this is the problem. It's all about QT and Cody. And the others need to get some separation from them if they're going to get any, any backing of their own. So I get the whole affiliation with, either side, but the whole thing is falling flat, and I don't think anybody's even watching the match. Nobody's really popping for it. So this was the wrong rivalry. They should have stuck with Penta and Cody because that was making sense. And the whole thing with Penta and the announcer and the jabbing there was working. And so I don't know why they would leave that to go to this nonsense. So
because you could write off Cody Rhodes with a broken arm, or you could have had him get his arm broken or some sort of whatever he was going to do. Because you got to think Brandy's probably going to pop pretty soon, so I'd imagine Cody's going to take some time off. I mean, he might. Who knows? He might just take a day off and be like, "Okay, I got to go back to work." Like, who knows at this rate? Because we got to do something with this feud, and I don't know. So the Inner Circle came out for their victory lap, as they called it. So let's see. We had Santana and Ortiz called FTR, so we'll get them in a match. We have Wardlow and Jake Hager in an MMA-style cage match in 2 weeks. And then we have MJF and Chris Jericho going in a match. I mean, I guess that leaves Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears for whatever. But, people have said this is going on too long, but it's not. I mean, each team has won one match. So we need that rubber match somehow. Now, I'm surprised that they're breaking it apart so much. I don't necessarily like that idea. I feel like you should have done that after the feud or something. But so I'm wondering what will the rubber, and the way Jericho was talking off, I wonder if he's going to kind of write himself off soon, especially if Fozzy is going to go on tour in the fall. He might need that time off. So I still think ultimately we should do Sammy Guevara and MJF. That should be the match because those are the two guys that everybody's behind. But so Greg, what do you think about all this offshooting of the feud? Is it going to come back to Inner Circle and the Pinnacle going one more time to finally finish everything off?
It will, but not until late this year. This thing is going to drag out for a while because it's too new to kill it right now. And there's so many interesting, matchups to be had. Aside from them divvying themselves up and, Shawn and Sammy and then Hager and Wardlow and Santana Ortiz against FTR. It's there's all the combo matches and all those things like that. But I think what'd be fun would be to do like a special edition centered around the whole thing where you have that set of matches. Like say they wanted that MMA fight to be in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Just set the whole night around that. And another match would be Sammy and Shawn Spears. Another match would be the tag team match. And the theme of the whole night is the Pinnacle versus the against the Inner Circle. And call it something like Keep and Score or something like that. And maybe you fill in with a couple women's matches or a couple segments and video packages, things like that. But you can structure a whole night around this rivalry. Maybe not a pay-per-view, but a random Wednesday night, and just make it the centerpiece. I can see you doing that, but there won't be a whole blow off to this rivalry until late this year, I don't think, if that, because there's too much. There's too many mileage to be taken out of it before you write it off.
so many moving parts. So almost like so you're like, you want it like maybe like the blood and guts, where that last hour was dedicated to blood and guts, but the night was centered around. I like that idea. And I wonder if they'll wait until after the playoffs so they could give it a Wednesday night, because, like we said, they're on for Friday night. They're on Friday night. Then 1 week they got to be on Saturday night. So it's almost like you got to wait till the playoffs are done just so you can get in that rhythm of where it's at. So Jungle Boy and Cage defeated Private Party. Christian Cage defeated Private Party. Another segment that was interesting was Darby Allin and Sting. You had Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky saying, well, Darby, the only reason you're winning is because you keep picking Sting. So they want a tag team match against Darby Allin with somebody other than Sting. Any thoughts on, Greg, on who that could be? Because I have no idea who I want that to be or who it should be.
Well, it's a weak premise. You're saying that you guys can't take this 60-year-old guy right now. Iconic as he is, he's the reason that he's winning. So that's pretty weak in my opinion. But I don't see who he would draw as a partner unless he goes outside and maybe pulls somebody. This be a perfect spot to bring in another free agent. Maybe go back and see who was released in Andrade's group, and maybe it's time for a new guy. So it'd be a perfect point to debut somebody, and they need it. They need to be reshuffling that constantly and bringing in new talents. So I think everybody else seems to be loosely or otherwise tied in with somebody else. So I can't think of who we haven't seen for a while. So it makes sense that this would be a good spot to debut another talent.
That's a good point you bring up, because like you said, everybody's kind of tied, unless you get Brian Cage, who splits from Team Taz, but that seems like a force to try to put him with Darby. And I guess it'd probably be too much if Darby beat Ethan and Scorpio on his own. Would that be too much of like Darby's like, I just want to do it on my own? Or would that be too much for him?
It would, because, Scorpio and his, he'll put Darby down just by himself. Yeah. So, it takes away from the believability, because they wiped him out just a few weeks ago. So to think he's going to do it by himself makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. I'll be interested to see. I think your idea is it's got to be somebody from the outside, and I don't know who that is, because Andrade was released on his own, and then I felt like we had to cut maybe a month later, but like that, probably the Samoa Joe grouping, because remember there was that big group of Samoa Joe, I think it was Mojo Rawley
and the Iconics,
Alexander Wolf, the Iconics, because Samoa Joe, they need to put him at All Out, like in Chicago. That's a wrestling town. I mean, what bigger pop is he going to get? So I'm fine with Samoa Joe just waiting it out. Don't rush things and come out in Chicago. Come out to the Cult of Personality just to really screw with people. But, Also, we did see Dr. Britt Baker's champion celebration. It was a toast of burgers. She legit got 1,500 coupons to McDonald's. That was a legit thing that happened because she put it on her Twitter. So there you go. And Nyla Rose decided to crash the party. So we're going to get Britt Baker, Nyla Rose. I guess for her first feud, she's got to win their first feud. So why not have it Nyla Rose? But any thoughts on the Britt Baker's Big Mac celebration, Greg?
It looked like a pretty shabby celebration. I mean, come on now, those are the best burgers you can get. But McDonald's, 1,500 coupons. So what it cost you, like $2,000? So it's
they're not hurting.
It was the whole purpose of getting to diss on the audience, saying look what I got you, and then just yank it out from you. You're like Lucy pulling away the football. It's like, oh, no, you didn't get it. I got it. So, that's the whole point of that. And now they're going heel versus heel with Britt and Nyla. And Britt's already beaten Nyla. No, I think this is
No,
actually
Nyla beat
the
her.
payback because Nyla beat her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the tournament.
Right. So now that's Britt's one loss. So now she gets to avenge that. So I got it, but yeah, this is a good way to get her on the winning track and on the road to some more higher profile rivalries. But to my earlier point, now she can talk it up about getting this win back, and Nyla's going to come out and bark at her, and it's going to make it hotter. So I like it.
And if you think right now, I mean, Britt is so much higher. Like, she's on another level right now than most of the women. Like, I almost feel like we'll have to revisit the Thunder Rosa stuff because technically that wasn't a loss either for her since it was unsanctioned. So I kind of wonder if we'll revisit that too. So Red Velvet defeated the Bunny. Red Velvet still doesn't do anything for me. Does she do anything for you, Greg, in the ring yet?
No. She's just another woman with a strange name.
And she was with, and just
trying to get over.
And she was with Cody Rhodes. Now, granted, Brandy had a reason not to be in that. Like, Brandy Rhodes would have been in that match. So it's almost like, Red Velvet got pushed in there because they just had to find somebody. But yeah, and the Bunny, I've heard she was pretty good in Impact, but I've not really seen much from her that really gives me any like, hey, you're really good in AEW right now. So
yeah, she was the anti-Lana because when she first started, she was, if you remember, the couple that was married, Mike Kanellis and Maria Kanellis. She came as the assistant to Maria Kanellis, and she was bumbling and goofy and nerdy, and that was how she was introed. And she's her name was Allie. And
that's right. Okay.
She eventually evolved as a wrestler, and now she's Bunny, and she can actually legitimately go. So it's what should have happened with Lana, but didn't. So that was, Allie was the right way to do it. Lana was how it should have been done, but it was done the wrong way.
And then finally, so it is the year 2021. We have Dustin Reynolds, in a main event match on TV, and it's 2021, and he wins. He defeated Nick Kamaroto, Ogre, as I like to call him. But we got Dustin. Like I said, this whole Nightmare Family, it just feels like Dynamite right now is on. There's like, I know that, all the talking heads are saying there's nothing going on behind the scenes. I don't know. It feels like there is, because it feels like you got all the Cody Rhodes stuff, you have all the Kenny Omega stuff, and then you have the Young Bucks stuff. It does feel like it doesn't feel like there's the cohesion, I think, that there was at the beginning. Do you see that anyway? Do you see that as well, Greg, or am I just trying to draw too much from it?
Yeah, if each EVP is, has control over like their division, like the Bucks and the tag teams, and Cody and his little scenario, and if it's divided up like that, then there must be some division behind the scenes, because none of it is tying in together. None of it makes sense, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And creatively, it's just a bunch of jumbled stories. So I don't know how the backstage stuff is working, but I know the in-ring. I know they pitched it during the lead up to the main event that Dustin had never lost the bull rope match, but Dustin's been washed up for a while. I think he should have stopped when he and Cody had their match when AEW first started. Um, Best match I've ever seen Cody, and that's going all the way back to his WCW days. And this would be the time where he's helping get the Young Bucks over. Not the Young Bucks, but the young kids on the roster who are on their way up instead of Dustin, who's got put into retirement already and should have both of them there. No, he shouldn't be beating, Ogre, as you put him. We need to be getting Ogre over. So yeah.
And how many Bull Rope matches has Dustin Rhodes even been in? Like, there was one. I think there was one in WCW. I don't recall any in WWF, WWE time. So what, it's a weird, like, who had Dustin Reynolds main eventing AEW Dynamite on their bingo card, as I like to throw out. Because if you did, give me the lottery numbers right now, because like I said, I fell asleep during it. I'll just full disclosure. And then, so I'm reacting right now to it. And that tells you all you need to know right there. But so they had a lot. Yeah. Like, I don't know. There doesn't feel like you said, the flow. It feels like this, none of the storylines are connecting, which doesn't have to, but at the same time, it feels like this, and this, and then this, and it does. I don't know. There's just not the cohesion that first started. And even the crowd wasn't as hot last night. And granted, they did. I mean, there wasn't a lot to get hot for. If you think, you had the starting match, and you had Andrade there. I don't know, these random, and I think it is because we were so used to Wednesday Night Dynamite. Now it's like, oh well, we got to be on Friday. We got to be on Saturday. So maybe we just got to get through the summer, and get to August, and then they'll be back in that good cohesion, because, like we said, going to All Out in Chicago, you got to put your, I think if you want to put your best foot forward, that's the time to do it, so any other thoughts on AEW right now, Greg, for you, or Double or Nothing, or last night's show?
Yeah, they can ease up on the victory laps. I think we had like 3 victory parties. One show.
There was a lot of talking segments.
Right. And that's time we could be given to these young guys to, build the brand. And, as much as I love to hear a good talk segment, too many is still too many. And, we'd rather have, the action and let them cut the promo at the end of a match. But so these guys are kind of wasting airtime. But, we're on the cusp of being back in front of the fans full time, and not these little houses, the big houses. So maybe they're just kind of twiddling their thumbs and using this as build up to getting back on the road and having full houses. So I'm gonna give them a pass for now. But if it keeps up after, they go really live outside of Florida, then they're going to have much harsher words for them.
Yeah, that's all I wonder. Like you said, is it a holding pattern until you get back with fans and see how people are reacting to play, how are fans reacted to these characters to go which way? Because right now, everybody, I feel like at AEW, everybody gets a good pop. There's not much gray area between the heels and the faces at times, especially like Britt Baker, who people want to cheer for. But there was just a lot of talking segments, I thought. And like we said, back to back. I even think the Darby Allin and Ethan Page stuff was like back with the Britt Baker stuff. Like it was, they did, you don't let things breathe. So hopefully we'll get to that. But thank you for watching. Greg, any final thoughts on your Suns? Wait, we don't know who they're playing yet, do we?
We do. They're playing Denver on Monday.
Oh, okay.
So the road gets tougher because, instead of, a couple aging injured stars, we're getting like the guy who's probably going to get the MVP of the league with Nikola Jokic this round, and a Denver team that's been hot all year. So, the road doesn't get any easier, but, they're that good. They finished ahead of Denver in the rankings for a reason. So, let's go Suns. Let's get this championship and keep that ball rolling. And really, it's the whole playoffs is wide open, and the only big threat looming out there is Brooklyn with their three-headed monster out there. But we already took down the King and his most loyal subject, and so the rest of y'all can come get it too. All right, let's go Suns.
So are the Suns being favored then in that matchup? I'm assuming.
I believe they are slight favorites to beat Denver.
Probably 4-6 games.
I believe 6 games, and they are fourth favorite to win the championship right now.
Oh, they're the 4. Okay. So you have probably Milwaukee and Brooklyn ahead of them.
Yeah.
And then who else? The Clippers?
I think the Clippers were – yeah, the Clippers in Dallas, I think, are still tied at number 3.
Oh, okay. Oh, so because
whoever's winning that series
has a better – okay. And that's going to Game 7, isn't it?
Yep. We're going to find out who wins that series.
Okay.
I think tonight.
Today or tomorrow. Tonight. Okay. I'm pulling for the Mavericks because I hate Paul George and I hate Kawhi Leonard. So there you go. Go Clippers. Go Luka. That Luka, man, you talk about like in 5 or 6 years. I mean, he's going to – I don't know what he'll be doing, but, I mean, he already looks like he's got it figured out now, which is crazy. So, but anyways – basketball talk is on the state of basketball on BW Sports 1. If you want to join them, I have to check their schedule. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's Thursday night, but we have a whole plethora here. Thank you for joining us on Superkickin with Steven. Thank you to Greg, my fellow co-host. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on BW Sports 1 Facebook, and of course right here at Superkickin with Steven. We will talk to you guys next week with we got TakeOver. In your house predictions next week. Then we have Hell in a Cell predictions. Then we got Money in the Bank. And that is where, I'm really excited for Money in the Bank because I don't know where if there's anybody left by then. And if WWE is not up for sale, which we didn't even get into, but we probably should have because that's been a topic that people talked about. But we will do that next week. So thank you for watching. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, everybody.